guy who's not your typical jungler stepping in to jungle for you, I think making sure that Johnny doesn't just get a comfort pick, invade you consistently, and really start to snowball the game that way, that's probably the direction I would go if I were the Scarabs.
Picks and bans for game one started up here. Valkyries do have the election for first pick, and they're going to go ahead and start off by taking the Giannis off the board, get that one out of Baronic's hands. And we've been seeing, now at the start of Season 8, it was Giannis all day. Every team was trying to pick up Giannis as often as they could, and then he just kind of went radio silent for a while, but now we're seeing this resurgence of this mage. What brought Giannis just back out from the grave, basically?
Sometimes this happens, you know, you get a character that's really good, and everyone agrees it's really good, and then it starts, you know, get some nerfs. Items get nerfed. That's a big thing for Giannis, is that his items got nerfed pretty heavily. And then people stop playing him. He must be bad. And then one guy who's pretty good at him will pull him out and still do the same things that made you ban him in the first place. And it just kind of starts this domino effect of, maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. The reality for Giannis in particular is that he just does things that no other mage or character can do for your composition. So it's not like nerfing his damage will always take him out. If it's not his damage that makes him good, and it's his mobility and his options to move around the map, then the damage numbers won't really change his prioritization, and that might be what's happening now.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like you said, no other god in the game who can walk through a wall. No other god in the game who can walk your entire team through a wall, travel them halfway across the map. So that mobility of Giannis is very key, and making sure that they are going to be taking that one down. We also do see some priority against Johnny here. We do see Osiris, which has been very prominent into the jungle. A lot of players are starting to bring him back into the jungle more than the solo lane, but also that Loki ban, making sure to keep Johnny off of what we would imagine is probably his most powerful god into jungle, because it doesn't feel like any team wants to let him get this god.
No, he hasn't been able to see it since like the first few weeks of Phase 1. It's been that good for him. So it doesn't surprise me at all to see that. I like the Scarabs bans and the direction that they've gone. Artemis first pick for the Valkyries, giving Emilito something aggressive that he can end up trying to snowball this duo lane. I'm looking at this Valkyries duo lane, man. You're up against Stewart and Slaney, who have one set of SPL experience in this season between them. You guys have years and years of SPL experience. Ping should not make the difference here. It should be experience in my mind. I'm looking for the Valkyries duo lane to be the driving force for this team, and I love that they've prioritized their picks top two. Give them things that they're comfortable with. Give them things that can really make them make those plays, and just lean on that experience over there in duo.
Yeah, I think they were working on their core three there as well. They pick up the Raijin for their mid laner to make sure they can get a strong pick onto that one. Morgan Le Fay and Gilgamesh picked up on the opposite side, though, over for the Scarabs. A little bit of flexibility with the Gilgamesh, not fully locked into the jungle. We have seen him go into the solo lane, and Morgan Le Fay kind of in the hot seat right now. She finally got released for SPL play, and it seems that every team kind of wants a piece of this mage.
And for good reason. I think she is pretty good, but I don't think that she's unbeatable come late game. I don't think that she's, you know, the best god in the game by a mile. I don't think that she's the best mage in the game by a mile. I just think she's good, and we're still in the period of time where teams are not great at playing around her or against her, potentially, and that will change things up. That will give you a slight edge whenever it comes to these skirmishes. So I don't have any problem with the Scarabs still top picking her. I don't think that she'll stay top pick forever, but I think she's pretty good.
Yeah, maybe once we get some more sets onto it, kind of see what matchups go into this Morgan Le Fay, maybe we won't see that kind of top two pick, because it seems it's always in those top three spots amongst the teams where they want to pick up this god. They're really heavily prioritizing getting her early, but we haven't really seen much yet as far as built against her. They're kind of just letting her exist and figuring out how you kind of deal with this god onto it. Fafnir now locked in on the side of the Scarabs, get something aggressive into that support role, make sure and get Slaney something comfortable, something he can play very front forward on.
Yeah, I mean, Fafnir is one of those gods that you get a couple extra inches on your leash with. You know, that's a survivable god. He's got the self-heal, the long jump, a point and click stun. It feels like if you're accurate enough with that hammer, which you would hope they could be at this level, but Slaney stepping in, is he going to be SPL level with the mechanics? We're not really sure quite yet. And you've got that transformation to really end up buying you extra time. I think it's an interesting pick in terms of the survivability, and I like that aspect of it. But realistically, Fafnir is high execution and is hard to execute on. And so I'm a little bit nervous for him on that front.
One thing we are seeing here, and I kind of got a note onto this one, Rom picked up for the Solar Scarabs.
Yep.
100% win rate on this god. 5 games he's been picked up so far. Hasn't lost one yet. So the Solar Scarabs go into something tried and true that's been working out for many teams so far. I think most notably like Zapman and Barracuda, the two who are really bringing this god to the forefront. We'll have to see how Stewart can perform on it. Typically, Stewart's a player I kind of see on more of the ability-based hunters, more like Ho Yi. We've also been seeing him on the Uller as well. So curious how he's going to perform on the ROM, especially going up against Terra and Artemis into the dual lane. I mean, that's a dangerous combo to really be thrown against.
And look, you're right to think of the Uller, of course. The Stuhler is what we all know him for. But this ROM pick is an interesting one for me because Artemis is typically a pretty bad matchup for him. So,
I mean, we got to talk about this Solar Scarabs roster as a whole, but I think inbound in the jungle should be the talking point, not just because of my jungle bias, but because, truthfully, any team is only as good as their jungler. He's the only player on the map that can influence every single lane, and this is inbound's first time performing inside of this role. Worth noting, it's not as if he's got a wild shift in style here. It's not like Yarkor going from ADC to solo where it's just so tonally different. Support likely has some of the most carryover, transitive skill, if you would, between jungle. So inbound has the potential to influence the map well, but as Aggro was alluding to on the desk, when you don't have pressure in any singular lane, that means that you don't have a lane that you can go to soak up some farm because they have a lead or easily find these aggressive ganks. Instead, it's about finding your windows, getting this farm, controlling the neutral objectives and the neutral farm as well. And, well, inbound doesn't have that experience to lean on, so I'm very excited to see how he plays this one out.
Well, you're talking about not necessarily having pressure, a lot of pressure coming out from Stewart and Slaney of all places on the map. It's not in mid, it's not in soul, it's not the players you'd expect. It's the, well, I guess the quote-unquote the newbie, the coach that are subbing in, but can they survive? Johnny, who's looking to come through, is going to be able to find the stun immediately for the brutalize, but a good stun from Slaney, not enough to save their lives. Imolito going to be able to pick up first blood, but now inbound is lurking in the jungle. Looks like he's going to go for the Harpy. Slaney actually under pressure now. Imolito looking for a second one, finds himself the double.
How did that happen?
So much for the pressure.
Ducky was allowed to use that blink a little bit later on. That's an interesting interaction. It's one of the few abilities in the game that has damage come through after it hits you instead of right as it does. So Ducky, aware of that, able to escape.
Well, Raffer, using his blink to go forward, goes for the root onto Stewart, gets the walls, gets the stun. Imolito is nowhere to be found as of right now.
Oh, Tusky!
But the slows are going to be great. Tusky comes through, gets some damage. It's not enough to kill off Stewart.
Severely hobbled Solar Scarabs draft. They're using their coach in that support role, their mainline support now in the jungle. Stewart is new to this team. SOT coming off of a, like a 1 week hiatus. You got to win now.
Well, inbound's now the one caught out. That was the Ragnarok used to grab him, but it's the winds of Shemesh that keep things locked down.
Ducky
Maybe turn it
might win
around
this.
a little bit. Ducky gets stunned out and locked down. Him and Johnny too far away. We've got a rotation from Xeros, but they're not going to be able to get anything out of there. Even though it doesn't necessarily turn things into a kill for the Scarabs, they do a great job of thwarting that kill.
And that is a trapping of the jungle in that it feels very easy to gank soul lane because it's so close to the core of your farm, which is why we see inbound so focused on it.
They might even get Johnny here. Inbound's getting aggressive. He has no mana. One more hit. That's all you need. Shangquei Ghost is going to be able to get it. That range is all you need. SOT gets first blood for the Scarabs here by killing off Johnny.
Much more help over there, and instead, maybe take your eyes towards this immobile hunter, maybe shift your attention towards Zeros and mid, who's been allowed to free cast for the most part.
Well, speaking of free cast, Johnny half health, but on to inbound here. Went deep to get that quest. Now the Brutalize comes through. Winds of Shemesh is only going to be able to do so much. Johnny doesn't get the jump, but it doesn't matter. Imolito rotated over to help clean up the kill and knocks Bobby down for his first death of the game so far. And that jungle, I mean, it's the question of impact. He's only one level behind right now, but where is this Gilgamesh really going to start showing up? Might need to be in mid lane here soon. Zeros looking to get aggressive alongside Raffer.
He is, but not too much is going to happen here. It should fizzle out. There's not a ton of damage potential as Zeros has just used all of his abilities to clear the wave. Instead, maybe we see the Valhalla Valkyries go for this red buff invade. Imolito already on the rotation in.
I mean, they're looking to fight and at least try and get this red buff as you had highlighted. They're going to be able to secure that one, but can
nice
they get
stun.
away with this one? Good stuns coming down from the Scarabs. The snipes are going to be good. It's Moronic who cleans up the kill on Imolito. Raffer looking to just barely walk away, uses the blink to close out some space. It looks like he should be safe here with Johnny and Zeros, but I say that, now Slaney getting aggressive inbound, lurking in the jungle. How much will they be able to do? The stun
No
into
beats.
the ult, they're going to be able to grab it. Bobby locked down. It should be a kill here. One more shot is all Zeros needs to clean that one up, and Ducky has rotated into the back line. Baronic forced to run under the tower. Slaney gets knocked up. Not enough damage in the world to kill off that tank as of right now. At least it feels like it. So they're going to back off here, but this could be a good rotation for the Gold Fury.
Both mid laners forced to use their beads defensively. SOT trying to rout him, and Zeros, no Thunderclap available, does get it back up in time to make his way over the wall, but Solar Scarabs have great defensive positioning. They are out that it gives SOT plenty of time to work his way into this fight. Shows up legitimately 15 seconds after Ducky does, but because the Valkyries stuck around for so long, it didn't really matter, and it turned into a pretty decent fight for the Solar Scarabs.
The red buff came up and secured there for the Scarabs. Johnny hanging out around purple buff, inbound, going in on Emilito. Good two-man stun. Johnny looking for anything he can do, and he forces inbound to fall back. The snipes from Stewart, not enough damage. Emilito is just barely alive here, and Slaney is going to be able to get credit for the kill. Johnny
Good
forced
stun.
to jump away. Rapper and Zeros rotating in, but can they get the kills? Inbound's incredibly low. One more hit is all it takes, and the Raigen's going to be able to go 2-0. Now Stewart getting aggressive onto Zeros, and the turnaround damage from Zeros is great, but it's not
Get him,
enough
Raph.
to get the kill. Zeros is so low. Raffer, as you highlight, picks up Stewart. And Zeros gets on out of here. Now Raffer forced to run away, but Mifflin's Terra, he should be able to get out of this one. In fact, Johnny's still in the jungle. Maybe going to be forced to fight off onto this, into the Solar Troll, finally retreating everybody on the Scarabs. Lead on the right side jungle, not a whole lot up over here. Maybe can turn towards that Greater Scorpion with some help, or might just look to fall back and, again, get some of that much-needed farm. Speaking of farm, right now,
Oh,
it's
God.
just farming the duo lane. Slaney is barely able to escape from that one. Stewart takes more than he bargained for in a 2v1 trade with the Artemis. So Emilito is starting to feel very confident.
Yeah, you don't see that too often where in the SPL, a Hunter is just like, all right, I'll take you both right now, Slaney and Stewart, losing out on that engagement. It's only a one-level deficit in the Hunter role. Emilito just getting the better end of that trade, and with doing that, creates enough space to head on over to this Gold Fury, and nobody from the Scarabs are privy to it.
I mean, this should be pretty free, as you said. Nobody, I think inbound maybe catches it out, but towards you look towards the Oni Fury, same thing is going on over here. Lots of coverage in the jungle for the Scarabs. And a four-man grouping in mid coming from them. Solar Trolls rotated into the lane. Raffer and pretty much every other Valkyrie are right here in the vicinity. And in fact, they might find themselves caught out. Ducky looking to get aggressive. Same thing with Johnny and Raffer, but they're not finding a whole lot.
No, Solar Scarabs are going to wait until the Valhalla Valkyries dig in their heels and generate enough threat to force the engagement. Emilito fake pulling the Oni Fury just to make the Scarabs step up. Slaney forced to act as a human ward here just to check in, and now Ducky has his opportunity.
Gonna get the two-man knock-up stun from Johnny onto SOT, but that's gonna be the ult from the Zhang Kui, and it's starting to pour out damage. Raffer takes way too much than he bargained for. They're gonna burn him down, but Slaney goes down in response. Same for inbound, same for SOT. The Valkyries collapse in on the Scarabs, make it a 3-for-1. They only lose their support, and now they can turn towards the Oni Fury.
If at any point a Kakullan is allowed to land a four-man route, that's a fight that the Kakullan's team should be able to win, and that's exactly what happens this time around. Ducky, though, bites off a little bit more than he could chew. Baronic able to set up the kill for Stewart, but the Valkyries confirm the Oni Fury now on the retreat, and Baronic completely healthy, seeing if maybe he can find Emilito. No chance for a turnaround on this one. Valhalla got to give him credit where it's due, and I think maybe that team fight goes a little bit worse for them had SOT itemized a little bit more in towards survivability. Dude's squishy. I mean, he got evaporated on this Zhang Kui. And out of the soul lane, you want a little bit more frontline presence. He's the largest member of his team, was one of the first players, if not the first player, to take over to level 20, approaching true 6 slotted, and he is still not quite able to walk his way into the Valhalla Valkyries backline. We need to see SOT get a little bit more work done on this Zhang Kui.
Well, the Pyromancer dance isn't much of a dance. It just goes the way of the Valkyries this time around. The Scarabs are hanging around here. Johnny's farming up in mid. The Valkyries are actually pretty scattered, all things considered, for this fight. Raffer looks to get caught out. Finds a nice route, though, and is able to escape using that double dash. Scarabs seem to back off. and the advantage positioning goes to the Valkyries.
It does. Slaney,
Jeez.
what are you doing, bud? Can't step up into the chainsaw maw that is Emilito, but maybe just fading him in. That's a huge turn.
And Solar Shoal inbound, credit for the kill, but the burn damage from the Zhonghui helps find the Artemis, and now, unfortunately, inbound finds that damage.
Double
getting
stun.
the turn, and a great push from Ducky Slaney, incredibly low SOT as well. Johnny finds himself a double kill. Rapper walks out alive. They sacrifice their carry, but they get 3 this time. Stuart and Veronica are around. They were able to
Deja
find
vu.
something at the very end of that Fury. Wonder if they can do something now.
Baronic, you're immobile. You can't play this deep. Spotted out by Zeros. Best of luck.
Yeah, and yeah, stun, lockdown, damage, Johnny. Credit for the kill. That's technically 3 in the fight. 3, 1, and 7 for the jungler here on the Valkyries.
Find themselves in such a dominant position, and, well, not often you see Artemis act as frontliners either. Walks immediately into every single member of the Solar Scarabs, but eventually that fight turns around off of a phenomenal 2-man stun for Rapper into a 2-man push from Ducky straight into the MVP of that engagement. The Fire Giant gets that knock-up and great damage. Now, Valhalla Valkyries looking to confirm the largest neutral objective on the map, but the Solar Scarabs will not make it easy.
It's taken them a while. They haven't even got to half health. Slaney's back over here. You don't have Baronic. It's going to be a 4v5 with Emilito rejoining the fight. Gonna go for the burn, though. All 5 of the Valkyries still looking at the Fire Giant. Johnny goes into the back line, looks to zone out Stuart inbound, but Slaney jumps forward. Slaney not able to confirm this. Valkyries get the Fire Giant, but they lose Johnny in the process. Ducky really far forward. Same thing could be said for Slaney. Slaney looking to get burned down by Emilito, and that is exactly what he does. Inbound, trying to step into the front line, but it's not gonna work. This Artemis is not going to be pushed over once. Well, at least not by you, Stuart. Credit for the kill, thanks to SOT's setup. Now it's up to this ROM to stay alive. That Aussie passive doing a lot of work keeping him there, but not enough to keep him rolling forever. Baronic finally back and forced to run away. Once again, only 2 members left of the Scarabs left after that fight.
All right, Raph, I need you to slow down here, buddy. There's no way you take this fight 1 versus 2. Nobody's here to help you. That's the right call. Work your way on out of there. Fire Giant now on 3 members of the Valhalla Valkyries, and plenty of towers left on the map to go ahead and collect gold from. Solar Scarabs, though, have been showing some gumption in these fights.
Yeah.
They've been able to fight in consistently. I mean, they're trading out their front line every single time, but that 2 core members of SOT and Baronic have survived just about every single one of these engagements. If they can start to get into these fights before
because he
they're
was way too overextended. So theoretically, it's oh, well, it wasn't his fault. He was in the death timer. It's like, well, it's kind of his fault. He was in the death timer, though. So balances things out. You can see where the pressure is going for the Scarabs, though. So far, 4 deaths on Emilito, 0 onto Zeros, which perfectly matches up with his name. And now it's his Primal Fury. It's being looked at by the Valkyries. Slaney, SOT, Baronic are hanging out over here. Inbound's on the other side of the planet, though, so it's going to be a 5 versus 4 if they get things going. Otherwise, you can see that Gilgamesh making the rotation over.
I can't believe the Valhalla Valkyries want to fight here of all places instead of around a permanent objective, but maybe this is why. They know SOT is all alone.
And they just killed his health bar. He's still alive, but not for much longer. Johnny takes half his health in the process. Same thing for Ducky. Stuart is the one that is under their aggression. Ducky barely makes it out alive on that one. Can't say the same for Stuart. Slaney burned down. Finally, someone gets rid of the solo laner for the Valkyries. Inbound with a good rotation. Once again, it's Baronic plus another that are left alive here. You can't kill that tier 2 yet, guys. You got to get the tier 1. The Valkyries are going to fall back, but they only have 2 Fire Giant buffs left.
Hey, Fire Giant on to Raffer at least is pretty nice, having your frontliner be able to tank it up and then resustain not only from the kit, but also from the Fire Giant itself is a good boon, but the ability to burn through these objectives is going to be majorly hindered by the targets that do have Fire Giant. Valhalla Valkyries decided earlier that they wanted to fight over this Primal Fury, and, well, fighting for the second best neutral objective on the map. It just feels like they could have pushed just about anywhere else. Maybe they were a little bit chagrined by the fact that the minion waves on the left-hand side are pushed down to the tier 2 tower for the Solar Scares, but just go collect that. Like, it's a Primal Fury. We don't need that.
Well, I'd say more props to the Scarabs than anything for not only making a stand around the Primal Fury, but making the Valkyries second guess everything.
Somehow it was the right call.
Yeah, like one of those moments where any team that gets Fire Giant, if in that circumstance, maybe tier 2 defenses is what we're talking about, but being able to hold your own Over in the Primal was great, but is it going to be enough here to fight for the Fire Giant? SOT in the middle of 4, and he's not getting burnt down fast enough. In fact, it's the Snipes now coming down once again onto Imelito. He's incredibly low, but still alive. Inbound is in the same state. Ducky trying to get aggressive. Johnny going deep for his opponent jungler, and he's going to be able to find him, but under the tier 2. Look at the Scarabs turn and run. Not able to catch up to the Fenrir this time. They get 1 kill. They move out. Doesn't feel like a Fire Giant just yet, though, Mifflin.
MVP of that fight has to go to Ducky, who zones off 4 members of the Solar Scarabs all on their own. Once Johnny dives into the Tier 2 tower, SOT tries to get in range to get that follow-up kill, but cannot find the refrag. Instead, it is Bobby for nobody in favor of the Valkyries, and, well, the Valkyries aren't doing a lot to generate threat here. Just waiting for this Terra to resustain, and now that they've healed up a bit, going to go ahead and start the enhanced Fire Giant.
Yeah, and this time they have Imelito from the get-go, so the burn on the FG should be a little bit faster for them than last time, but there's still 4 members of the Scarabs standing here. No ult for Stewart, no ults at all on the side of the Scarabs or the Valkyries. And they're looking to get aggressive onto the Scarabs, but they're nowhere nearby, Mifflin. They drop the Fire Giant, it heals back up to full. They're going to go ahead and pick it back up again.
Look, the Solar Scarabs don't have to step up until this Fire Giant is low, but SOT walks his way in, and being as squishy as he is, he's going to go ahead and fall down as quickly as that. Veronic left behind, no beads available, and is immediately caught out as well. Double kill for Zeros.
And Stewart just decimated thanks to Zeros. A triple kill for the mid laner, looking to make it 4. The quadra for Zeros as he cleans up every living member of the Scarabs around that FG pit, the last one standing. Well, that's inbound over in the mid lane. Not going to be able to find much there. 9, 0, and 10. Showcasing what Zeros has to offer.
Bro, it wasn't even an ambush, Gormizer. They didn't pull the Fire Giant. They reset it, and the Scarabs are like, yo, Fire Giant, what's good? And walk in and immediately die. Now Valhalla Valkyries knocking on the door of the Titan.
Yeah, they're going to walk in 20 seconds before SOT is back. And unfortunately for inbound, not much to do in that circumstance. The Titan's going to go down here. The Valkyries get themselves a game win. Well, their effort died to the Titan there. I was a little worried. Start sweating for the Valkyries there.
Solar Troll was able to come in and make a couple plays. Veronic was putting out a lot of damage on top of that. But overall, definitely not the type of game that you feel like the Scarabs are going to be in a position to win at that point. I mean, even as they got later and later, it did not feel to me like they were ever under any threat because Zeros was just free casting in these fights. Veronic was not, or excuse me, Inbound was not able to get on top of them at the same time as Slaney, at the same time as Solar Troll. The dive being desynced against a guy like Zeros on a god like Raijin, it's a recipe for disaster, and that's really what ended up being the killing blow over here for the Scarabs.
Yeah, a 14.5 KDA on your mid lane mage, undying that entire game through. It's not something that you can just let happen. It's like, okay, yeah, it's just a Raijin, but guys, it's a Raijin. When you hit late game, and we saw what even happened yesterday, 2 hits of that Taiko drum is more than enough to kill any squishy target, and Zeros ending the game on a big quadra kill for himself too. I mean, this is a player you have to be paying attention to. You cannot let him just sit there and free cast in those backlines.
I mean, 9-0 and 11 tells the story. How about 1-2 and 22 for Rafford, by the way? That is a beautiful support scoreline. And certainly this is what we expected from the Valkyries. A little bit better, being more proactive in the early game. Their mid game, I still think they looked a little bit unsure of where to be.
That support and that solo role onto that. Now he's moving into the jungle. Maybe we still see a lot of the same picks for them. You know, just ban what's safe over anything else. Keep their priority on making sure that you get your strong suits and keeping them off of just kind of the top picks onto it. But with Inbound going back to support, I think this can really shake up that dual lane a little bit more than what we saw in game number 1. Game 1, it was just, we have Terra, we have Artemis, we run at you, we kill you. Inbound's not one of those players that just lets that happen. He loves these Hercules kind of picks. He loves the assassin supports as well. Maybe we see that shift up and kind of get the dual lane rolling for the Scarabs.
Maybe so. I think that, I mean, no way that with Inbound there in support, the dual lane starts as poorly as it did in the last game. That's kind of what you're going for here for the Scarabs, is just try to get to the point where we can get Solar Troll and Veronic to take us through this game. You know, you're really looking at Inbound, Veronic, and Solar Troll as your 3v3 now in mid, and that gives you more options to just have win conditions that way. I think it is a little bit easier to win in that fashion than what they were trying to do in the last game. So definitely looking for the Scarabs to prioritize focusing in on locking in priority gods for their mid 3v3.
And I think this will make an interesting shakeup onto it. We do see similar bans out of the Scarabs in game number 2. We do see the Osiris banned out again. We see the Loki once again. Make sure to keep Johnny off of that one. But they mix it up this time and take the Terra away from Raffer. And Terra has kind of re-risen up for the supports. Players are really starting to like this Guardian. We saw Genetics put on a killer performance on it yesterday. Had probably 2 of the best walls I've ever seen in my life on that one.
Yep.
Especially that one that he caught out in the mid lane.
Yeah, he played so well on it. That's been one of his picks. Mike played it yesterday as well. Looked very good on it. I like the adjustment. Take that away. If the games are going to go late, which I think they will between these two teams, Terra is just an instant win condition for you. So make sure that you don't have that on the other side. I like the adjustment in that sense. This Gilgamesh pickup, is this going to go into solo for Slaney? Almost certainly not. I think this is almost guaranteed to be jungle here for SOT.
The Valkyries are going to pick up the Emoji in place of the Terra being taken away. Not a pick that the Solar Scarabs tend to go back towards anymore. Haven't had their best success with it. The Valkyries are going to see if they can put something on the board for it. But going back to the Morgan Le Fay again, I liked what Baronic was able to do with it. He had a strong early mid game, but when it came to those late game fights, it just felt like he didn't have a leg to stand on, didn't have anywhere that he could go. He was just getting ran at by these gods like the Fenrir, who was just constantly on top of their backline.
Yeah, it's a good point. Baronic did put out a ton of damage in that game and had opportunities to make plays. So I don't have any problem with him going back to the Morgan Le Fay. This, I think, is very smart from the Scarabs.
Yeah.
Lock in your mid 3v3, first 3 picks, and it's 3 gods that can take over games. Hercules support, Gilgamesh in the jungle, and Morgan Le Fay in mid. Love it. I think this is exactly what I wanted to see from them. Good adjustment. Now it's a matter of getting Stewart on something that he can be comfortable on and getting Slaney on something that can still impact the game out of solo.
With that one, we go into the second round of bans and still some more focus onto Johnny once again, banning the Kali, but changing it around this time, taking the Fenrir off the table. A great performance out of him, 4-2, and I believe 15 that he finished that last game. Nothing to scoff at for that assassin player. I mean, when you have a Fenrir who controlled it as well in the early game as he did go into the late game, sure, didn't get a ton of kills, but he set up so much for Zeros in particular.
Yep.
Ducky also had fantastic zoning on the Cucullin. I wouldn't be surprised to see if maybe we see him kind of go back over to that god too.
Agreed. Same recipe for the Valks here. You lock in your ADC, your support, and your mid, then you're letting Johnny and Ducky counterpick later on in the draft, which I like for what they like to do, which is play around particularly Zeros in the mid lane, allow Johnny to get that counter pick a little bit later on. That makes some sense to me. But with the Fenrir being taken away, I wonder what pick Johnny's going to go to with some control, because that sort of formula seemed to work for the Valkyries in game 1. Letting Zeros do a little bit more of the hard carrying, and letting Johnny fill a little bit more of that facilitator role in comparison to try and do it the other way around like they've done for the majority of this year.
Well, it seems that he kind of falls back to the Apollo more often than not. We didn't see that one banned away from this time. He also likes the Tsukuyomi, as we've seen.
Yep.
Last game, they banned Set away from him, though. If you're going for more control, I don't think that Set's the opposite you want to go for control. That's just straight damage out of that one. So I'm curious where this one's going to go. Heimdall rounds out the 4th pick there for the Solar Scarabs, get their dual lane synergized out there. Hercules Heimdall, a lot of aggression in that lane, a lot of potential to get that first blood with it. You can get those crystals to go in immediately. I mean, then you just have Hercules get a nice little knock up and a driving strike afterwards. And Guan Yu going up into the solo lane. This one in the hands of Ducky. How do you feel about the Guan Yu going there?
I like it because of the way that this game, I think, is going to play out, which is similar to game 1. Even when the Valkyries got a pretty big lead in game 1, they didn't really turn up the pace. They didn't try to snowball the game super hard.
No mouth, therefore I must scream. Inbound, now back into the support role as well, so maybe this is their best foot forward. I was talking to Dave, I was talking to Taco between these matches, and I said, look, I don't like where these roles were in game 1. I think that this is likely their best shot at finding a dub. Make sure Inbound is in a position where he knows how to perform, where he knows to find his pressure, and he can do stuff like this, already pulling Raffer in, already helping Stewart out a little bit more, and just send Slaney over to the solo lane. Be that lane that is generally just going to lose pressure, likely going to get invaded pretty often, but won't die, and come late game, the desk highlighted it, has great team fight presence, good lockdown CC, good survivability, CC immunity inside the ultimate, as well as great beads burning potential. That's all we need to see from Slaney. Survive for the first 20 minutes, press?
is piloting something we'll see, maybe not often, but at least a few times over the next few weeks.
Yeah, just a little bit more sustained with the Sentinel's gift. Going to be able to stick around in the lane a little bit longer and maybe find the pull on Emilito.
Gets a good push, as you had mentioned, no CC immunity here for you.
Rip.
SOT over the wall, and SOT with the lockdown. Raffer is going to make it under the tier 1 and stay alive, but that's first blood on Emilito. And then a blink over in the jungle. Not going to be able to find the lockdown onto Slaney.
Is invaded, and Speed
at
Buff
Johnny.
getting invaded as well. Johnny going for the cardinal sin. You're breaking the trust, the bro code. Not cool, man. Speed Buffs are for your own junglers, and SOT gets there just in time to watch it go down. That's messed up, all right? That's not a jungler you're doing that to, Johnny. You're bullying a solo laner.
And speaking of bullying a solo laner,
Nice.
Slaney locked down by the ult, and it's the tick damage afterward that's enough to find it. Maybe the minions, I guess, credit for the kill as Ducky gets him low, serves him up on a silver platter, and inbound. Incredibly low in the duo lane, as per usual, and ultimately Emilito is lacking now 1 survivability.
He is, and steps a
And
little
mana.
bit far forward here. Thought maybe we'd see Stewart step forward with the Gallarhorn and try and find the slow to set up for Bobby, but instead, just going to go ahead and keep zoning off the wave, and there's the turnaround. Now the Rapper shows up. Keep your eyes on Johnny. Looks like he's trying to get involved.
Yeah, still hanging out over here. Jumps in. Rivers Rebuke is good as well. Locking down inbound. 1 more hit, and it's going to be Johnny credit for the kill. And now Stewart's on the chopping block. Zeros goes up into the ult, and there's going to be the Bifrost. But Emilito was waiting for you here. The shots just need to connect 1 more. Raffer gets that one, and they're going to be able to pick up 2 kills for free in the duel. Because, again, Zeros. Quadra kill at the end of the first game. Alan dying, what was he, like 9-0-10, 7-0-10, something ridiculous
crazy
like that. It is a great position for the Valkyries to showcase what they have, but it still took them a while to get there, and that was against a much more mismatched Scarabs than I think what they're facing now. And so 7 minutes in, despite what should feel like a comfortable lead for the Valkyries, I don't know how much you can lean on them winning this now. It's going to be in onto this collapse, and inbound has pretty much nowhere to go. Johnny jumps over, though, and that gives him an avenue out of there. In fact, it opens up the door for SOT to get aggressive, and the boulder comes through. Johnny falls down, then through the realms gets sent to Raffer. Emilito forced to run away here. Raffer in the middle of all of them. Zeros going for the ult. Whiff. A 0% accuracy ult there for Zeros. And that is going to give a Scarabs a 2-for-0 trade.
No way. Come on.
Backup's going to be good. Emilito into the wall and inbound takes him down, making him look like clowns.
Sitting on their side of the jungle, seeing if he can find any bit of aggression, setting up for this purple buff invade, and Raffer and Emilito don't look like they're interested.
Yeah, they're going to take that sledge pickup there. It's kind of what feels like old school, maybe last year, right? Overall for
What
inbound.
year is this?
They're going to jump in. They get the purple buff invade. They get the greater Scorpion over here on the Gold Fury side.
Uh-oh.
But the Valkyries might be getting Slaney 1 more time.
Xing
The
Chen.
Sun's good. The lockdown. 2 ults
He should
for
be fine.
Slaney Xing Chen. He's walking out of here. Guys, you got to get the kill with that commitment, but they don't find it. Slaney's alive. And all for naught, the Valkyries drop 2 ults.
Yeah, didn't have to use his blink, doesn't have beads, didn't have the ultimate available either. Didn't matter. Stewart, though, trying to get aggressive, cannot step up to Emilito, gets turned on immediately. That is a beads for your life trade, and the Heimdall did not come out ahead.
That is a classic solo situation right there.
Any damage at this point in. I mean, Ducky is under just about 0 threat of death, unless SOT is willing to do it all completely on his own. And, well, we saw that Slaney's under very low threat of death as well.
Well, not under low threat of death. Stewart locked down. That crystal's not going to get you out of here, but Johnny forced to retreat thanks to SOT's rotation. The Winds of Shamash
Nice!
go down, and Johnny just low enough, but still capable of escaping more than you could say for this Artemis. The chap is good with the knock-up, and the boulder is better. Inbound gets his 2nd kill of the game onto Emilito, and they're not going to be able to lock that down. Stewart walks away alive from that gank.
Bro, Inbound's just playing ADC, man. He's playing Hunter from the Hercules. He's sitting
That
inside
is
this.
supposed to be struggling against you. This is way too close, I think, for them to feel comfortable.
The only place the Solar Scarabs are legitimately winning this matchup is the duo lane, which makes sense that they're putting so much emphasis here. But now that Ducky's over, I think he just brings so much more to the fight than Slaney will. Scarabs gonna have to play this perfect.
We'll see how the 5-on-5 goes. It's going to take a while for the 5 to exist for the Scarabs. Boulder goes through. And Inbound trying to do his best Wraithen impression, but not able to get the steal on the objective this time around.
He's gonna start a fight in a solo. It's likely gonna be the Valhalla Valkyries, who've got a pretty large lead.
Well, there's going to be Tusky, and that might be enough. No, it's not looking good enough. Aegis used there for Emilito. Use the beads, use the ult. Anything and everything in the arsenal, and it's not enough to escape the 3, 1, and 3 inbound on this Hercules. Once again, Artemis put into the dirt. They're going to try to respond on the Valkyries by ganking solo Troll, who has returned to the solo lane for right now. They're not going to be able to find that. Ducky looking for the stun. Out blinked. Johnny goes in, finds the taunt, and Rappers come over with the River's Rebuke. They're looking for the lockdown, and they're going to be able to find it at least onto the Gilgamesh. It looks like Xing Xin will walk away happy. He's going to lose his tower and at least a blue buff in the process.
And likely the Pyromancer as well. This is what I was talking about. Valhalla Valkyries have a massive lead on this side of the map. Can go ahead and strip away this tier 1 tower and then fall back to the neutral objective, looks like.
Maybe two-thirds, depending on how you want to slice that one. And finally, a Pyromancer getting picked up, looks like by the Valkyries, and maybe just fast enough to make it over in time for that Primal Fury that's about to spawn as well. They get one neutral objective. We'll see if they can set up for another. Right now, Emilito, 3 traps in the area to try and make sure Bobby can't run at him as he watches his purple buff get stripped away once again. And now Zeros is the one who's in trouble. Stunned against the wall, locked down, body blocked as much as you can. And he goes over. The boulder's going to chase him. The River's Rebuke in response. SOT may be the one who's caught out now, left lonely and lost. But Ducky's the one in the middle of 4. Solar Scarabs uses the ult, disengages, the stun is good, and he gets out of there. SOT is the one who falls instead. Slaney jumps back, Baronic's low, and Stewart's out of there, but they're not looking to let Slaney escape this time around, looking for the kill. A couple of hits, and Emilito finally gets a second one on the board. Johnny jumps in, doesn't have his ult. Doesn't seem to have the taunt, but they're clearing out plenty of space for this Primal Fury.
That's what I'm talking about with Morgan Le Fay. That Dragonflight is unreactable. Had Johnny been a little bit more aware, could have pre-beadsed it to keep up that chase, but no reason to chase out the kills when the neutral objective has respawned on the map. Primal Fury going to head on down, and that whole fight starts with SOT putting himself out of position. Being as squishy as he is, jumps over the wall into the red buff.
Scarabs, they're going to back off. Under that tier 1, stay alive right now. Again, Mifflin. It's that Fire Giant. That's where I keep looking at it. If I'm the Valkyries, I want that boulder to be down. The minute I see inbound use it, I know that it's open. He uses the blink, goes for the push as well. The boulder thrown in mid, and he is surrounded by 5. Ducky looking to go in. Stewart isolated and alone. That's going to be Johnny dropping his ult into him, throwing him right into Baronic. The poison spreads. Johnny gets the last hit for that one. The tier 1 and mid will go down. It's a 3-for-0 trade, and the Valkyries find themselves ahead.
I was just going to make the point that the Valhalla Valkyries have all the onus to generate threat right now, to force the Solar Scarabs to respond to them, but instead, Bobby makes the decision for him. Boys, we're going in now. Blinks in, immediately loses out on his life. So now Slaney, what was the coach for this team, now has to tie up his cape rather, and be the hero for this team. Best of luck on the Fire Giant steal.
Yeah, it's about 10%. He blinks in, he goes forward just a little too early on the damage. The Valkyries are going to be able to confirm that one. Can he escape now is the question for Slaney. Running it down, half health.
Maybe.
Gets 2 jumps. He's Xing Xin, the root, the stun, the mez. There we go. That comes down from Zeros is enough to lock him up. And Emilito's going to get credit for the kill. All 5 members get to retain the Fire Giant this time around. They're looking to barrel down right-hand lane. This tier 2 tower is quaking in its boots.
Slaney dead for 40 seconds. That is a huge team fight presence loss, but it was at least able to strip the beads off of Zero. So now there's a clear target for the Solar Scarabs. Can we get onto this Raijin? Well, it doesn't seem like they're interested. Bobby's split pushing, SOT's stealing buffs, and well, Baronic's got his eyes on the red.
Yep. That's where things are. I looked at the map when you were saying that. I was left in a little bit of disbelief. I still am kind of having trouble believing it. They get the Phoenix
to go for the Draugr. Would have helped out a lot to have some percentage defense and additional power on your towers in a siege situation, but seems like, again, it's not going to be a tier 2 tower defense. Likely, we see them start to group up on the Phoenixes. But, Stewart, you're a little deep, bud.
And not grouped up with anyone at this point. Johnny going for the 1v1, uses the beads in the process, but hey, look, beads for ult and to kill maybe feels worthwhile. Now Johnny's the one who's maybe out of position, all the way over there on right, pushing the fire minions as they're knocking down the left-hand Phoenix. One more hit is all it needs for the Phoenix.
Big heal.
Still stands as of right now. River's Rebuke going to come through and force inbound. to walk backwards, but he's not going to be able to escape. In fact, he's turning it around. He wants to get into the back line. He's trying to fight. It's too much for them to try and take this one on. Zeros. He's under pressure. Will he go undying? He gets out of this one, but is he going to be able to run away? No, the first death of the set for the mid laner on the Valkyries right there after getting the left-hand Phoenix, but it's going to come at a cost to Scarabs. Baronic is left all alone. You've already lost inbound. You lost Stewart. You can't afford this one, but he does end up falling. Johnny, credit for the kill. And now the Valkyries, the ultimate decision. Do you go in with the minion wave on left for the Titan, or do you turn for the tier 2 in mid? They turn for the tier 2 in mid and try to make sure that they further themselves a lead. Stewart respawns now, inbounds back in 15. They're looking for the 3 Phoenixes.
And they should be able to get it. Stewart has respawned, but again, no beads available. It's all about that turnaround. Slaney creating as much space as he can, but it's all about Stewart.
Stewart forced to run away one more time. Imolito doesn't care about the Phoenix putting the damage into Slaney, half health. And the Xingqian's forced to run away. They're going to play this one a little close to the chest. They get the Phoenix. The hat trick is completed. Ducky gets plucked back in, inbound. Looking for some kills, setting up the blood for the Scarabs.
Zip code for every single one of them.
Now, speaking of stank, because we see the Valkyries right now, they're running down this right-hand Phoenix, and like you said, there's no one to fight. I want to follow it. The little pimple on the map that is the Draugr camp. You had mentioned you wanted Stewart to get that earlier. He gets it this time around. This maybe help prolong that Phoenix's life.
Just that Phoenix.
But it feels like it's very, out of place for a team to swing through. Like, if you're trying to defend a Fire Giant, you're trying to defend a Primal Fury, a Pyromancer, it feels like you're just out of place for a hefty majority of it. And so we'll see whether or not it's going to be worth the effort they put into getting it. They are still on the other side of the world. They get a tier 2, though. That exposes the Phoenix.
That's
if
a win
I'm
condition.
The Scarabs, that's what I'm looking for.
If they win any singular team fight, the Solar Scarabs are going to barrel down the left-hand side as quick to separate the back line. If they don't win out on that initial spearhead engagement on the side of the Solar Scarabs, well, I don't see them winning the engagement at all.
3-3-3 inbound's the one I want to look at. The Caledonian Boar gets the stun inbound.
Huge
Getting
shield.
shredded, but that healing comes through. He's going to be alive a little bit longer. Is it enough to make a difference? Unfortunately, not for the Scarabs, but they do get Imolito. They have one big trade support for carry, but they lose SOT Zeros with a double kill. Now Stewart pulled right back into the fray. Not going to get away from this one. That is a 3-for-1 trade as the Valkyries run down the left-hand side. They want to end this loss streak, and they want to end it soon. They're going to have to barrel through this Phoenix and Slaney and Baronic to get to the Titan. They're just going to go ahead and jump through, not even looking behind them to finalize the kill. A good Riptide pulls them into the fight, keep Baronic and Slaney uncomfortable. The Titan starting to fall, the minions pouring in. The Valkyries have done it. Not since week 2 of Phase 1 have they found themselves a win, and now it is a 2-0 over the Solar
Scarabs
Scarabs
against a team like the Leviathans, who was their next matchup. But still, you can only beat who's in front of you, and they beat who's in front of them today, and you can't ask for anything more than that.
And a lot of it did come out of that kind of readjustment that we saw out of Johnny. It's something we kind of questioned with the Serket pick. You know, how does this fit in Johnny's repertoire? Well, it seems like he was able to kind of facilitate that match very nicely, along with the help of Ducky on that Guan Yu, making a huge impact out of the solo lane, very early rotation. And on this kill specifically, got down to 4 health, able to make it out, and able to get Zeros to kill on top of it to boot.
Yeah, really, really love the play from Ducky. I think that the Guan Yu is a really good pick for him. It's similar to a lot of the other picks that he likes to play, which is a little bit more late game oriented, lets him get to the position of just get to the team fights and I can make an impact there. And he made a big impact in the team fights on this pick. Love the way that the right side of the map played for the Valkyries in this game.
I just noticed that on that last kill for Johnny at the mid lane, there was actually a teleport in with the Bifrost, and on the end of that teleport was when the dot spread, and then ends up getting the double onto Baronic. Very cheeky low play there for him. You don't get to see that too often. But into the standings on it, you do see Zeros or Johnny specifically topping the charts as far as the kills go into that game. Ducky going undying in that matchup specifically for go with the Scarabs, both now sitting at that 1-5.
Yeah, but because of the head-to-head now, obviously in the Valkyries' favor, they are the ones in sole possession of 7th place. Definitely a step in the right direction for the Valhalla Valkyries. Still, of course, have a lot of work to do, but again, all I can keep saying is that you can only beat who's in front of you, and they had to beat the Scarabs today. They did so. Maybe this gives them a little bit of momentum going forward. You know, gives them back a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, they're going to need a lot of confidence going up into the Leviathans next week. That's going to be their matchup, but we still have one more matchup to go for today as well. The Oni Warriors and the Titans. That'll come up after this break onto it. But again, another congratulations to the Valkyries.